Welcome to the Vision Hunters podcast. I'm your host, Cody Story. This is episode number 8, how to succeed in the digital world, make a positive impact, and live the life of your dreams with Chance Welton. Chance got his work ethic from his father. Raised on a potato farm in Idaho, he learned from an early age that whatever he was going to have in life was going to come from real hard work. As Chance grew up, he was taught some hard lessons and he became determined to provide for himself and those he loves. A life that he could previously only dream of. Chance is a self-made entrepreneur, the owner and CEO of Beachwood Marketing, a 7-figure online marketing platform, the co-founder of the which is the Modern Millionaire, one of the largest growing digital educational platforms. He's also a real estate investor and co-owner in 4 other privately held companies. He has been written up in publications like Forbes and Entrepreneur for his innovative mindset, determination, and ability to build everything out of nothing. He started his first business at the age of 24 with only $600, which grew to be a 7-figure business 3 years later. Chance believes his success is rooted in the way he approaches life as well as business. By staying centered, putting the important pieces first, and always waking up before sunrise. A couple of quick reminders before we get into today's show. I release new episodes of the Vision Hunters podcast every Wednesday at 7 a.m. You can listen to the shows on Spotify, plus you can listen to it on Apple Podcast, or if you'd like to watch the episodes, you can do so on YouTube at my Cody Story YouTube channel. The spelling there is CODYSTOREY. Next, I'd love to hear your feedback, so please go ahead, leave a review, hit like, subscribe, and share the show with your friends and family. Some of what you'll hear in today's episode is why Chance decided to travel the world in his 20s to gain worldly experience and search his soul, why you need to close the doors of your past in order to open up the doors to your future. The impact of building a meditation practice, how finding the right teacher or coach can condense time, remove guesswork, and give you a clear roadmap to where you want to go. The devils you face in new levels of growth, brain power, deep work, and productivity, why having a sales process in place is critical for your business to succeed, what it's like running a successful marketing agency, the Modern Millionaire's online educational platform, how COVID has impacted the online marketing space, why paid traffic is Chance's #1 recommendation to level up your life, make an impact, and increase your finances, the best platforms to run your paid ads on, Chance's top 3 books for becoming a successful entrepreneur, the importance of building relationships on solid principles, and the vision of the future for the Modern Millionaire. We talked about all of these topics and so much more for an hour and a half straight. I hope you enjoy listening to this interview as much as I enjoyed conducting it. As for now, this is how to succeed in the digital world, make a positive impact, and live the life of your dreams with Chance Welton.
Welcome to the Vision Hunters podcast. Thanks for joining me, Chance. Really great to have you on the show. It's been a while since we've seen each other, but I guess that just builds more anticipation and more excitement on my side. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. I was trying to think about that of when we first met. I know I came to your studio when you're still doing the fundamental strength training. Shoot, what was that, 5-6 years ago?
Yeah, I think one of the last times we did get a chance to hang out was in the middle of the desert. We went hot springing with about probably 15 people, and it was a wild day. And we stayed there all the way till it was pitch black out, and we put on headlamps. And I remember we were walking out, and I'm pretty sure we got lost on the way back for a little while. I think the other experience or adventure we got to go on was rock climbing. I think
We
that was
did
up in
Ojai.
And that
Yeah,
was
man.
cold as hell, man. And I hadn't been rock climbing in so long. And I remember I was up there just looking down and my body started shaking because it's been such a long time. How's climbing been going for you?
Good, man. I've still been climbing all over the world. Since then, got to climbing Yosemite multiple times, Joshua Tree, Red Rock National Park, Moab, Washington. We went to Patagonia, went to El Chaltén, climbed in the region, in the Fitzroy region, which is like some of the most iconic climbing in the world. We summited Aconcagua that year as well when we were down in Argentina, which is like 23,000 feet, tallest summit I've been on. Incredible journey, 15 days on the mountain, like just life-changing. Like talk about pushing yourself. I mean, being at that elevation and not being able to sleep for days because there's such a low amount of oxygen in the air, and then just getting up and pushing every day. And like, I mean, it was talk about, pushing yourself on so many different levels, all kind of at the same time. Learned a lot about myself on that trip. But yeah, I've just continued to explore and, climb all over the world and surf and mountain bike. And it's been a wild ride. So
yeah, man, I've been able to track you down on Instagram and on Facebook, and I'm always blown away. I'm like, wow, he's at another just wild, beautiful part of the world, either climbing or doing some sort of outdoor activity. But yeah, that sounds like the Ojai climb was like little baby steps compared to what you're talking about now.
Well, that was back when we were all kind of getting started and just kind of playing around with it. And I mean, I just got bit by the climbing bug. After that, I just became obsessed and was just trying to climb like as much as I possibly could. We just did a trip out to Moab just a couple weeks back and climbed Castleton Tower, which is a big 700-foot spire that comes up out of the middle of the desert. That's pretty wild. It took us like 6 hours to climb, and it's just been, continuing to explore that. The beautiful thing about rock climbing is you just go into the abyss. Like you have no idea what's up there. You're just climbing and finding your next hold and, just going for it. It's like that ultimate feeling of freedom, of kind of, because we're not meant to be up on the side of a wall hanging onto these little tiny crimps and little tiny cracks. So when you put yourself there, it's this crazy euphoric feeling of like, wow, like this is the definition of living on the edge. Like you are on the edge. So it kind of puts you in this tunnel vision of focus that's just unreal.
Yeah, that's about as on edge as you can get, dude. It's scary to me, man. When I was younger, it was like, okay, no big deal. But now, oh my God. So props to you, man. It's no joke. Now I'd like to actually give the listeners a little context and dive into your story. What was life like before marketing and entrepreneurship and building online businesses?
Yeah, I mean, it's, life's always wild, even though before that, still having amazing times and traveling, but definitely being in a different space. I was definitely right in the middle of soul searching, which I think a lot of us do in our, mid to early 20s. It's just like when partying doesn't, excite you anymore. You're like, okay, well, what else is there to life than chasing girls and drinking and going to ragers, right? That got old pretty quick. And, I started traveling pretty much right out of high school, moved to Maui for a year and really started to kind of experience some culture. It's such a transient place, was meeting people from all over the world. And I was like, I don't want to go to college. I don't want to dedicate to any trade school. I don't want to do anything until like I understand who I am. And I was like, the only way to do that is to go meet people outside of my hometown, go travel, get away from home, get away from mom and dad, friends, comfort, the day-to-day, and really find out what really does get me excited. What am I passionate about? Because I had no idea. And so I just thought, you know what, I can just go and travel and I'll figure it out kind of along the way. And that's what I did. My best friend and I traveled the world. We left Maui, spent a year, went to 15 different countries, bounced around the globe, and then came all the way back to Maui. So we did like a full loop around the planet, which is pretty cool to do at, 20, 21 years old. And just really learned a lot about myself and saw how people were living in different ways, outside of the American dream or the traditional way of life, which is, graduate from high school, go to college, buy a house, get a mortgage, get a car payment, marry someone, have kids at a young age, and just, get settled. Right.
Yeah.
And that just really didn't jive with me at that age. I knew at some point I would get there, but it wasn't what I wanted to do out of the gate. And a lot of the people that were my mentors or elders, like I didn't really want what they had either. So I wasn't really listening to anyone and I didn't really have an inner compass. So I just thought I just need to just like go experience, go travel, see what happens, and just kind of let the world kind of reveal itself to me. And, like I'm a smart kid. I knew I would pick up on some tips here and there and learn different things about the world and myself. And really that was like the biggest, I guess, thing that clicked for me on that trip was just understanding who I was, being out of like, cause we identify with our surroundings. We identify with our job, our friends, where we hang out, what we drive, where we live, like that becomes like our identity. And when you remove yourself from that, that's when you really find out who you actually are as a human being, which was an important thing for me because I was like, if, I don't know what I need to do to go out and build my legacy or my destiny or my job or my business. I didn't know any of that. So I was like, I have to find out who I am first, away from everything else to start moving in, in the right direction. And I recommend that for anybody that is just feel like they're kind of soul searching or lost or unhappy or whatever it may be. Just like go travel, just go, simplify your life. Like I sold everything. I had a backpack with a few shirts in it, a couple of pairs of board shorts and, a little cooking stove, headlamp, some hiking boots, a sleeping bag. And we took off. And that was like really liberating to just live so simple and not tied down and not stressed out and not having all this noise. Back then there were still flip phones. So we weren't even traveling with phones because we're like, what is this Nokia going to do for me when I'm in Germany? Like, I'm not going to be able to use this thing. So we didn't have phones. I think I had one little tiny, just crappy laptop that I bought for $100 that I would use to message my mom on. I think we were using MySpace at the time. I don't think even Facebook was a thing.
The old MySpace.
And that was really all we have. So we didn't really have any communication with the world. We were just, traveling and just literally going wherever the wind blew. People say that, but that's actually what we were doing. Talking to people about where to find work, where to go, what's the cheapest way to get to the next place. That is literally what we were writing off of. We didn't do any research before we left.
So you were on the wing it journey.
Oh, 100%. Like that, again, that is the definition of winging it. No plans. If we got in trouble, we had, no backup. We were, barely had a couple $100 in our pocket at any given moment that would run out. And then we would figure out a way to make some more cash, whether it was painting a house or working at a travel lodge, or we worked in vineyards, we worked in organic farms, picking fruit. Literally whatever we could find to kind of get us onto that next spot. That's just what we did. And we met a lot of beautiful people along the way.
Wow. That's incredible, dude. That's amazing, actually. And it sounds like you were able to really gather a lot of life experience by traveling around and interacting with multiple different cultures.
Big time. And I was always such a talker when I was younger and I didn't listen to people. And somebody we met along the way kind of called me out on that and was just like, dude, just listen a little more. And I kind of got offensive a little bit. My ego kind of jumped out. It was just like, who are you to tell, you're kind of like, who is this guy? It was this old hippie. We were working on his farm in Australia and the dude was just like on a whole nother level. They were living completely off the grid. Dude totally had life figured out, had 3 kids. Amazing. And he's like, you just need to just be quiet more. And like, you'll get a lot more of the answers that you're looking for. And I was like, it took me years for that to really kind of really make sense to me and really set in. I was this young kind of hotshot kid that was traveling the world and thought I had it figured out. And obviously did not because I was, broke and, living on the beach and sleeping under bridges and just kind of piecing it together. And so there was little tokens like that I kind of picked up along the way that eventually all kind of stacked up where I was like, oh my gosh, like there's so many people trying to tell me things. And now I'm finally listening. And when that happened is when life really started to kind of open up in in a bigger way, because there is so much knowledge out there. There's a lot of wise people that walk on this planet. And I just began to start listening, which was like a big transformation for me on that trip. Was, wow, there's so much to learn. Like there's so many people that have amazing parts of life figured out. And if I just wanted to start taking pieces of that, I was like, wow, this guy really has his life figured out, where him and his family are living off the grid. They live in this beautiful home that's made out of clay. They have all the food in the world that they could grow. It's all a permaculture, amazing piece of property that all works together right in Byron Bay. They're surfing every day, like just had it dialed. And I was like, wow, that's what I want to learn from this family. I want to learn how they work together and how they raise this, how they've built this farm and how they take care of each other and how they're healthy and how they go about living with like no impact on the planet. Essentially, they're solar paneled, they have solar panels, and they were doing all these things. I was like, wow, this is something that I want to implement with my family, years down the road when that time comes. And now that I'm in the age, I got my son on the way. Like now I'm seeing all this stuff that he was telling us that I'm like, wow, all this is making sense. I'm glad that I sat and listened and was with him and learned from him, because now I'm being able to apply some of those things that I learned over 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So that was 10 years ago. So was that about a duration of 10 years while you're out there, doing the soul searching and trying to figure out who you are before you got to where you're at today?
We're always still searching, right? We're always still learning. We're always on this journey to become better, higher versions of ourselves, right? Mm-hmm. And trying to have more positive impact on the world. But that first initial trip was a year, and then kind of was bouncing back and forth between Maui, California, and then kind of all over the place, kept going on different trips, kind of all over the place, still just learning more about myself. I really didn't start my online business until 2015. Mm-hmm. So that would have been 5 years after that first initial big trip that really kind of opened my eyes to what is possible. Mm-hmm. And then there was just still, honestly, a lot of failing. Like a lot of people think, oh, that guy got lucky. He, met the right person. He got investors. He had a rich day, whatever it may be. Yep. They just became successful overnight. Well, that doesn't happen for anybody. I thought it did. Mm-hmm. That was a big lie that I was kind of telling myself is, oh, it's just going to happen overnight. Like I'm going to find something and I'm just going to be successful. I'm going to invent a crazy water bottle that cures cancer and I'm going to make a gazillion dollars overnight. Yeah. That's not what happens with successful businesses. There is so much that goes into that process before you actually see even their first edition of whatever product or project that even is. Mm-hmm. And so before we even started the Modern Millionaires, before I even started my agency, I had tried a handful of other things. I was acting in LA. I had a band that toured around. We had a fashion company that failed. One of them still going, actually. And just had so many things that were just not working out right. Spent thousands of dollars crashing and burning. Had a semi-successful massage therapy business that I ran for a couple of years that at least allowed us to live in Los Angeles, which, Cody, is crazy expensive. To eat organic food is like my whole paycheck every week.
Plus a little rent. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And then try owning a brick and mortar business out here.
Crazy. Mm-hmm. Crazy. And so, it was a lot of failing, losing tons of money on different projects I was trying to invest in or spending my time on, and, just kind of spinning out in the mud, and was just like, at that point in the summer of 2015 was literally willing to do whatever it took to become successful. Because I had the work ethic. I grew up on a farm. My dad used to work our asses into the ground for free up until we became teenagers. And then once we were 13, then he started paying us $5 an hour. So he's like, well, you had hospital bills. I drive you to school every day. We put food on your table. You got a roof over your head. You're going to work on the farm to pay what it costs to survive, essentially. So he instilled work ethic with us at a very young age, which I resented him when we were kids, but now I appreciate it. Because we learned how much it costs to make how much work it takes to make a buck. It's a very important thing that young kids need to learn, I mean, there's a lot of spoiled little brats running around on this planet these days that
Yeah.
are so entitled to everything. My youngest brother and sister are included in that group because they were raised by a different little part of our family. But it started there. And I was like, man, if I was out working in the fields and we used to call it picking rocks, where you'd literally pick rocks out of the ground and you'd fill up trucks when we bought new land, because we had to clear the land, pick the rocks so we could plant our crops there. So doing that, I was like, man, if I can work 8 hours a day, making $40 picking rocks, I'm willing to work 12, 14, 15 hours a day on a computer to build a first year was 6 figures, second year was 7 figures. Third and fourth year, we did 8 figures. And I was like, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to be successful. I'm like, I just need a system that I know that works, because I was spending so much time, because I wanted to start marketing for my massage therapy business. I was online watching YouTube videos, reading blogs, spending hours and hours and hours on YouTube, trying to piece together a marketing campaign.
Rabbit hole.
Yeah. The old rabbit hole. My girlfriend at the time was like, you're never on your computer. You're on your computer all day long. Like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm going to figure out this internet thing. Because when I was traveling, there were people in Indonesia that were staying in we all stay in these, little tea huts where there's like tons of people all packed in there. We're splitting rooms with other people, so we're only paying a couple bucks a night. And, you got these, older, at the time I thought they were older, but really they're my age. They're in their, late 20s, 30s, working on their computers on the nice little bungalows down on the beach, and like working and like making good money and traveling in the same way that I wanted to, but we're not sleeping under bridges in between the tea houses. And I remember talking to one of the guys and I was like, what do you do? And he's like, oh, I've been living in Indonesia for 6 months and I travel all over the world. I've been to 50 different countries. I've been traveling for 3 years straight. And he's like, yeah, I buy and sell stuff on eBay. So he had an eBay business back when eBay was first starting out, crushing it. And I was like, man, that's crazy. That's so cool. And started to learn like, whoa, this world exists. I had no idea that was even a thing.
Yeah.
I thought only smart tech people had online businesses, and then the rest of us were just kind of the ones buying all the shit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I actually wanted to start a business with my brother, Andy, for eBay. We created this whole thing, put flyers up for people to go pick their stuff up, mail it for them and everything. I wish I would have followed through it at that time. It would have been a good hit. But of course, it was just a fleeting idea at the time. But then fast forward, and that's just how the world works now.
Man, if we could implement what we know today 5 years ago.
Yeah, right.
We wouldn't even be on this call. We'd both be sitting in our freaking $10 million houses in Indonesia.
So you mentioned 2015. Was that around the time when things shifted? Is that when you had like an aha moment, or you woke up? And if it was, what was that moment?
So kind of leading up to that, I was getting sober, wasn't, because I was in a touring band. So we partied like animals for a couple of years. Wild cowboys. We were in a rock and roll band out of Los Angeles, and, we're traveling all over the place, playing festivals, having a hell of a time. And then, would kind of come back to the real world when we we're done with tour, and just was like, just trying to figure out life. And, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to quit drinking. I'm going to quit doing all this shit. I need my head to be clear. Was at the Bulletproof conference actually with your brother, like I think maybe the second one they ever had. And Ziva Meditation was there. I can't remember the name of her at this point, but she does a talk about meditation. I ended up going to her little 10-day intensive shortly after that. And it was kind of a lot of the right people were kind of stepping into my life at that point, because it's crazy when you kind of close doors and open other doors open and just stay focused. It's amazing who will show up in your life and be like, yep, you're on the right path. Here's another little, push in the right direction, because, people see that you're really trying, you're really pushing in the direction that, you need to go. But people that have already been down that road kind of see it and encourage you to keep exploring in that direction. So when I decided to kind of make that shift, I went through the meditation 10-day intensive. And now 6 years later, I've been meditating, 20 minutes a day, every day, 20 in the morning, 20 at night, which you start to do that. Even after a couple of months, you really start to see the world in a different place. A lot of people talk about, meditation And I always wanted to do it. But again, I didn't have guidance. I didn't have a mentor. I tried meditation and was bored of it and would fall asleep and didn't have any guidance. So I failed at that too. And what I started to understand is like, if I had a mentor, if I had a system, if I have something where it's like, okay, here are your proven results. Here's your, 3-month plan. Here's your 12-week, whatever it is. If I had some kind of structure, I knew I could be successful. Like when I was coming and working out with you, I knew like these were the things I was supposed to do, and you had a system, and like my brain will pick up and learn that and be successful with that, because I'm not spending time going through like the guesswork and the fear of what am I missing and all of these things that essentially keep all of us in ruts, whether that's with our relationship, our finances, our emotion, our spirituality, whatever it may be. So the most important thing is finding mentors and people that already know what you're trying to learn, so that, that's why you pay a mentor. That's why you invest in any educational platform, whatever it may be, is because you're condensing time.
Yep.
That's all you're doing. That's what you're paying for. You're condensing time. You're removing guesswork. You're buying into systems, into teachings, into guidance, to where you actually have a roadmap to being successful in whatever that is. Right. So I had a mentor in meditation that really changed things for me. I was no longer watching, spending hours on YouTube trying to figure out who was the meditation guru that I needed to listen to make me happy and content and grounded and clear and all the other words that people throw out there. Then I stopped. That part of my life was figured out. I didn't need to go out and keep wasting time trying to figure out, quote unquote, how to be enlightened. And we all come in and out of enlightenment through our life, depending on where we're at in our mindset. But I'm not saying, oh, I'm enlightened and all knowing at this point, but I definitely see the world in a much clearer way than I did before, when I was still, abusing substances and not meditating. And I feel like I'm the closest now that I've ever been to seeing life in a clear way, or having some form of enlightenment, which really makes life a lot easier when you're not putting these other roadblocks in front of you on a daily basis subconsciously. It's insane.
Yeah, it's incredible how your life can change when you cut all that out. So you were playing in a band, partying. This was before you cut that out. But then you wound up falling into, it sounds like, meditation, and things started to change from there. And you started to see mentorship was really important if you wanted to move forward in your life. The way you were starting to view your life, and systems and having a roadmap became important. So you actually knew what to do and didn't, have to guess or waste your time. And then I've also heard you talking about, failures, and it's just been a part of this process, and I'm 100% with you. So what was the biggest failure, and what really came from that?
Well, that's a loaded question. Because
Very
I feel
loaded.
like we fail, succeed, fail, succeed. And eventually there's less failures in between those like successful moments, to where eventually we start to experience like what people call the hockey stick in life, where you're kind of bouncing along and have these little wins, and all of a sudden it's just like to the moon, right? Those windows of success start to condense to where you're having more successful days kind of start to stack up to where you can really start to make a difference in your life. So, man, we go through them all the time, but I would say, because for every new level, there's new devils, right? In any aspect of life. You get to it and you think, oh, I made 6 figures. I'm good. Well, in order to sustain that and continue to grow, you have to learn new lessons, and that continues to grow. And I can't remember who said it, but they're like, if your bank account will grow the more you grow. People get paid more money based on the problems that they're solving. So if you're solving bigger problems, you're going to be compensated in a bigger way. If you're having more impact on the planet in a positive way, then you're going to be compensated in a big way. That's just the way that and compensation comes in a lot of different ways. It can come in friendships, it can come in relationships, it can come from experiences, it can come from travel, it can also be money as well. And so in order to get to that next stage in life, for me anyways, I had to learn those tough lessons. I had to address big problems in my life. And then eventually that allowed me to help other people in their life as well, because I'd already been through it. So going back to, right around the 2013, 2015, it's like the problems that I have was, and the failures I kept having, is like, I couldn't stay deeply focused on whatever it was I was trying to work on. I was trying to do too many things at once. And that's what kept allowing me to fail, to not be the best partner in my relationship, to not allow my business to grow, to not stay in good physical, not to keep my strength up. I wasn't working out enough, meditation coming in and out. Anytime I was kind of experiencing the same level of failure in different aspects of my life, because I hadn't truly dedicated my time in order to really get to master one of those areas of my life, in order to allow me to kind of move on to the next thing that I needed to address. Right. And, we're always working on those things. Again, I'm not saying that I've mastered relationships or mastered my relationship with my fiance. Like that's always a continual thing. Like love is an action, right? It's not a noun. So I think, really my biggest failure was just like not sticking with one thing when it came to finances, because I was trying to do a lot of different things, because I had heard mentors say, oh, you want multiple streams of income. And that's all I kept thinking. Well, if you don't master one stream of income, you can't go out and create other streams of income. That was a hard lesson for me to learn, because I was trying to run my massage therapy business, was also going out to do auditions, also had old motorcycles and old cars I was renting out to movies and photo shoots. So they would call me up because somebody would fall through and they'd need 2 motorcycles on the other side of East LA. So I would spend my whole time driving them out there to get them there. And then other aspects of my life kind of kept, going to the back burner. So I was always just kind of pushing things to the back burner and wasn't keeping one thing on the front burner. And so I just kind of kept scrambling through life. And it was so exhausting. We were trying to climb our way to the top in the fashion and in the music and in the, acting world in LA. Also, I still, bartending and massage therapy and so many different things just going. And it was enough. Like, shoot, we were having a hell of a lot of fun and, kind of living the dream in LA and doing some really cool things, but just could not get ahead and couldn't just get one to really take off. And a good friend of mine shortly after that gave me a book, Deep Work by Cal Newport. Insane work. So pretty much what he was saying is like, if you talk to any successful person, they'll say they made their millions of dollars between 6 a.m. and 12 p.m. every day. Nobody gets anything done after lunch.
Dude, that's prime time, bro. It's so amazing. Like, I am the most creative and effective between that time period and about 12 o'clock. Even today, we were hopping on at like 2 p.m. And I'm like, damn, that's kind of that zone where I get a little funky. The brain doesn't function as well as early in the morning. That's so true for me. And so that was in the Deep Work book.
Yeah, that's his big thing. He was like, we have people think that our most valuable resources are time and money. And he said, those are actually 2 and 3. Your most valuable resource is brain power. And you only get about 3 to 4 hours of that a day. Okay.
So true, bro. Oh my God.
That's what people talk about flow state.
Oh, right? I love it. Yeah.
He's put it into like context about like, oh, well, what is flow state? He's like, that is your brain being able to operate at like 3 to 4 times your productivity than you normally do throughout the rest of your day. You feel it. You're unstoppable when you're not getting up and immediately looking at your emails, immediately looking at what's on Instagram, what's on Twitter, what's on Facebook. And you go down these rabbit holes and you see all the negativity out there and you see all the shit talking or whatever it may be. You're already starting yourself off in a non-productive way. Right. The brain kind of starts to shut down. And we love that dopamine release of reading drama on social media. And eventually you stimulate enough dopamine from reading other people's stories.
Depleted.
You're depleted. And you're putting so much energy into what the world is doing, not about your world, not about what you need to be doing.
Yeah.
And that had clicked where I was like, okay, and I teach all my students this. I'm like, notifications are off. Everything's turned off. Because in the beginning, I'm creating content for my students. I'm working on, my other partnerships, building out systems, a lot of the high level stuff that it takes a lot of brain energy. The wifey knows too. the family knows, do not even think you're going to call or text me between 6 a.m. and noon and get a response. Yep. I'm alive. I'm well. I'm happy. My clients know it. My students know it. My partners know it. You're not going to hear back from me at that time because I am creating.
Yep.
And the best way for me to give the most value to the relationships that I have, whether it's professional or personal, I have to have that time to be able to create and be fulfilled so that I can fulfill on all my promises for my people.
Dude, incredible. I'm so glad to hear that and so glad that was broken down for us. So anybody out there listening, it might sound rudimentary or fundamental, and it is, but like you said, brain power, number one, my brain is blown. I'm in 100% agreement with that, and the whole like no phones and none of that crap before you do anything, blocking that time out, making sure there's no interference or distractions. Incredible. And that's funny because this is part of one of the questions I wanted to ask you as far as like, what are some of the keys that you've been using to unlock your success? Like the meditation, boom, the mentorship, boom, systems, boom. And then dialing in when you know you have the most brain power, a specific period of time where you go all out on being creative. So then you can obviously be the best in your relations, as far as personal relationships and professional relationships. So key. Are there any other principles or habits before we move into, because I want to get to some of the projects you've been working on and businesses you've been working on as of late, but any other like principles or habits that you could recommend or that you've dialed in that have been those keys?
Yeah, I mean, definitely the first and foremost is brain power. Protect that. That is your most valuable resource.
Okay.
And if you're not dedicating that to your vision, your destiny, like whatever you want to call it, your mission in life, then you're doing yourself a massive disservice, not only for you, but you're doing the world a disservice. Mm-hmm. That's the number one. The other one is relationships. And I remember ever since I was a kid, my mom always said, be careful who you hang out with. I was like, oh, whatever, Mom, it's fine. It's, whatever. The older I've gotten, I realize we do have very limited time. We keep talking about time. So if you're hanging around negative people, if you're hanging around people that aren't motivating you to become a better person in some aspect of life, then again, you're doing yourself a disservice. Mm-hmm. And I can't remember who said it, but they said, if you're not losing friends, you're not growing. And I didn't understand that at first until I kind of lost touch with some really good friends that I grew up with, because we're just, we're in different parts of our life. We're both kind of growing in different directions, which is totally fine. Still love those people to death. But the people I choose to spend my time with on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis are the people that I see eye to eye with, that believe in my vision, and vice versa, of people that are building me up. Because there is a lot of negativity in the world. There, people love to talk about all the shit that's going on in the world, and people love that. I don't know. There's like the pain body loves to just talk about turmoil, and like I don't have time for it. Like I want to be around people that are excited about life, that are doing big things, people that I can collaborate with to help impact business and the world in a bigger way. Those are the only people I have time to be around. And that is so key. And I've noticed that, because anytime you talk to somebody, even though you're just doing a quick check-in, 3 minutes, 5 minute, 10-minute phone call, like start to pay attention to what is actually being said in that conversation. Are you building each other up? Are they just giving you all the family drama? Are you talking about ways to collaborate? Are you, like what are actually happening in those conversations? And we start to pay attention to those. We say, okay, well, who are the people that actually genuinely care about me? Who are the people that actually genuinely care about my success and my well-being? Mm-hmm. And then same thing, right? Yes, I care about everybody. Yes, I want everybody to be happy, healthy, wealthy, successful. Yes. Mm-hmm. But communication is all a two-way street. And that's what I really started paying attention to. It's like, okay, who is rowing in the same direction that I am? Those are the people I want to spend my time with. Mm-hmm. Because we have the same principles. And when you have the same principles, it doesn't matter what happens between now, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years from now, coming back together to see those people, it's going to be like we never missed a beat. And you'll know that too when you haven't seen people. Yeah, we haven't talked in 6 years.
Long time.
But it feels like it was almost like yesterday, because you and I, even though we've been apart and haven't had a lot of time to talk, are still, mostly rowing in the same direction.
Yeah. Still expanding, still elevating, still striving to improve.
Exactly. So it's, we kind of touched base on mentorship, and you said some of the stuff is rudimentary. And a lot of people do throw it out there: mentorship, time management, these things where I always thought, oh, that's rudimentary, and I didn't really pay attention to it. But if you don't implement it, then if you don't have rudimentary like baseline, you can't, there's nowhere to go.
Yeah.
So implement it so that you don't have to continue to, repeat that conversation in your mind and continue to explore those principles. Just implement and just, move on. Another great book, Principles by Ray Dalio. I mean, one of the most powerful books that's ever been put out, for life and work principles. Fantastic.
Beautiful.
But he talks about a lot of this stuff. Like if you have strong principles in your business, you have strong principles in your relationship, you lay out the fundamental principles with that relationship, whether it's personal or business, then there's a very clear understanding about if something did come up in the future that was negative or whatever, you both have the strong principles where you are going to navigate that situation in the right way to make sure everybody is protected in that situation. I can't remember the guy's name, CEO of Salesforce, the fastest growing software like ever. They have like 36,000 employees. They're doing amazing work. He spoke at the Abundance conference I was at in March. He said, if you have your principles, it's like day one when they started Salesforce, I think like 15, 18 years ago, they didn't say, oh, we're going to go out and we're going to donate, $22 million a year to nonprofits and do philanthropy work. They didn't say it. That was not on their, first opening meeting, right? They didn't say, oh, we're going to donate, 2 million hours. I can't remember what he said. It was like 2 million hours of volunteer work for inner city programs. They didn't say that, but their principles were that them building, the founders were like, we are going to do whatever it takes to improve the well-being of not only our business, but the people that are involved with our business. And we're going to do whatever it takes to take care of our people and to change the software and sales world. We're going to evolve it. We're going to push it further in the right direction. And we're going to be an example of how other tech companies, successful tech companies, should operate in the world. Reducing their carbon footprint, actually taking care of their people, actually going through and knowing all of their employees. These things that are so simple. And since they just had those simple principles, 18 years later, the whole team knows what they're going to do in these tight, difficult situations. Where Texas was, having big pushback about rights for transgender people. And they're like, okay, that's bullshit. Called up the governor, and they took a big political movement on the Texas politicians to push back and say, no, you're not going to pass all this shit. Like that affects our people. Stood up to the frickin' politicians in Texas because they had those strong principles from day one. And so, that's why you take these principles, you integrate it into your life. And then when these hard times come up, when struggle comes up, when conflict comes up, you and your team or your people that are involved are all going to do what's right.
So principles, relationships, brain power, meditation. There you have it, folks. Some of the keys to unlocking success. And speaking of success, can we dive into the evolution of some of your online businesses? Let's talk, how'd you go from, or if you're still operating or running Beachwood, into Officeless, into Modern Millionaires?
Yeah, so started Beachwood in 2015. I was actually living in Beachwood Canyon in Los Angeles, and that's how the whole Beachwood marketing firm started. I love that area, the city. Started there, and just started growing it, and just hit the ground running. We talk about closing doors. all the things I was doing, I was like, okay, I invested in mentorship. I invested in an online program. I was paying $600 a month for 12 months. So it was like a $7,000 program. I literally gave the guy my last $600 and thought I got enough gas in my car. I got enough food in my fridge, and we had just paid rent. I'm like, I got 30 days before I am all out of money and my girlfriend finds out and we're in deep shit. Mm-hmm. So I closed all my other doors. People were calling me for massage. People were calling me to rent motorcycles. I was getting called out for auditions. I said no to all of them, sat down and got to work and started building my marketing business. Within the first 8 or 9 days, landed my first client. They started paying me $2,250 a month. Mm-hmm. So I had already made money to survive that month. And then once that first check came in, I was a believer in myself, and then just went all out, massive action, cold calling, emailing, showing up to networking events. Beautiful thing about Los Angeles is there's like, I think 70 or 80 Chamber of Commerce meetings that happen at different times throughout the week in like Santa Monica, Venice, Los Angeles, Hollywood, Burbank, Topanga. Like there's just so many. So I just researched and found out where all these business owners were hanging out, and literally sometimes I do 2 a day. One would be like down in Long Beach, and then I'd go down to San Diego, and then I'd still get back to Topanga Canyon or to Beachwood Canyon that night to sleep, and we're just like hitting it so hard because I had a mentor, I had a system, I figured out the deep work aspect, the meditation, getting all the other distractions out of my way, and just freaking hit the ground running, and knew that I wasn't going to go to sleep that night until I had gotten all the things off of my list. Either, prospecting was the number one, sales is the number one for anybody that's in business. It doesn't matter how successful you are. If you do not have sales, you do not have a business. That never stops. And I knew that because my mentor that had built multiple 7-figure businesses said, this is what you have to be doing every day. I didn't even question it. I said, okay, I've learned my lesson the hard way of not listening to people that know better than I do. So I just put my head down and just started hitting it. After 90 days, hit 10K. I did 6 or 700. Sorry. First year was August 15 to December. I think I did like 70K, and I was like, holy smokes, this is real. I'm so freaking pumped. And then it just kept growing from there. Year 2 did 6 figures. Year 3 did 7 figures. Year 4 did 7 figures. And then year 5 we did 8 figures. And it was just like boom, 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 like this snowball effect, because I kept those simple principles that we've been talking about on this phone and just did it every single day. Like you never stop doing it, or else your axe becomes dull. You have to sharpen your axe every day. So every time you take a swing, it's less effort, and you're just precise every time. Right?
Yeah.
When you set that thing down, it's sitting out in the rain, it's rusty, and then you try to get back on the horse, you try to get back out there and start getting back to work. It's like, you got to do some work to kind of get back in the zone. But if you just keep doing it every day, then you're in the flow state. You're in the zone. Like success loves momentum. Money loves momentum. People love to be around people that are creating momentum. Because then it's a moving train. You can't just jump off. You can't just stop. You can't just take a day off. You can't just shut off. Because it's moving. You're building something. Everything you've been putting into it is finally starting to move, and it becomes exciting. And every day waking up when I was stepping in and helping my clients, I was excited because I built something out of nothing. And it was finally
that momentum is like a real magnet, a real attractor, versus being stuck or stagnant or complacent. Any business, it's like, I'll just give you my experience, like in the gym per se, when there's momentum, the energy is amazing. And it's like, people just come on in, people sign up. But another thing you touched on there, which I think is super important, is the aspect of sales, and how a business to thrive really needs sales to be in place as far as like a process, because I took it for granted. I'm me, I'm who I am. I do enjoy talking. I can tell you enjoy talking as well. And I was able to sell my ass off in my gym. And I, ran my own business basically for 15 years, but I had a gym for 8 years, as you know. And I just figured my coaches should just figure it out. Like I'll help them be great at coaching. I'll tell them all about the systems and the ins and outs and be great coaches. But I'll be honest, I never taught them how to sell. And I never really went deep into the study of sales. I'm doing sales now since I closed my gym down. That's all I've been focusing on as far as like deep work. Like I'm just going as deep as I can. And then I want to go into the next pillar. But right now, I took it for granted. I realized that, and I want to sharpen that sword or sharpen that axe. But I didn't realize how important sales was. And I also didn't realize, as far as like scaling and profitability, how important marketing is. And me being a business owner, having a brick and mortar, I also found it very challenging for me to trust people, because I had signed up for things, I had bought things and worked with certain coaches. And dude, it did not pan out. And I wasted thousands of dollars trying to grow. And then I got to a point where I just stopped trusting people. So sales, super important, super key, marketing as well. So I think that's rad. Like that's one of the main topics we're discussing here today. So could you dive a little deeper into the importance of having a sales process and where marketing comes into play as far as like scalability and why that's so critical?
Definitely. And it was funny, a couple months back, we did a big kind of poll and we were on one of our live calls and we said, well, what do you guys think of what word comes to mind when you hear the word sales? People are saying scuzzy, sleazy, used car salesman, snake oil, trickster, scam artist. You know, you hear all these words based around sales, and the most successful people on the planet have figured out sales. And I think they've really removed the word sales from it. And it really is just good communication and having integrity. And if you can understand how to communicate with somebody, how to ask the right questions to understand what their needs are. And then if you have the product or service that's actually going to fulfill those needs, then that's where integrity comes in. Now you're just having a real conversation. They're going to see value in that. They're going to hear that you're speaking from the heart, and they're going to want to purchase what you have. Because another rudimentary thing that you hear is people buy from who they like, know, and trust. But when you really think about it, people just think it's trust. Well, there's a lot of trustful brands out there. There's a lot of trustful products out there. But think about some of the brands that you actually invest into or you buy into. A lot of times you like who's representing that product. You like what they're saying. Right? You get to know them because they're speaking your language, whether you've had a direct conversation with them or not. Any amazing sales campaign or marketing campaign that's ever taken place, they were you ever feel like, oh, they were speaking directly to me?
Yeah.
That's by design. They understand the psychology of how to get their message out to you. And if you have an issue that aligns with that product or service, then like that's the right fit. That is a sale that has integrity on both sides, right? And that's where, you know, the old school way of selling just does not work anymore.
So brutal.
Which I'm okay. Like I'm stoked on that.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of
if you go deep and start learning another way, like you're saying,
right.
Empathy, communication, some fundamental human things that must take place in order for there to be integrity. Yeah.
Yep. And I would say, you know, because I've taken thousands of sales calls, I've sold millions and millions of dollars on just literally talking with people that have no idea who I am and building trust and likability. And I go back through and I always listen to my recordings. And I think it's so funny that entrepreneurs don't view themselves as professionals. Like if you look at professional athletes, basketball players, golfers, anybody, they're practicing every single day. If there's a part of their game that they need to work on, they're shooting free throws for hours on end. Kobe would shoot something like 2,000 free throws a day or something crazy like that. But entrepreneurs, we don't want to fine tune our sales, right? We don't want to go back and, you know, like hockey players, football players, they'll go and they watch replays of their game and they say, how could I have been better right there? But then we don't go back through and listen to our own sales calls.
Got to watch the game tape, baby.
Got to watch the game tape. And so I started going back and listening to these recordings and being like, oh, that's what I said and how I said it, because I was actually paying attention to that conversation. I actually listened to them. We made a connection on the phone where we both liked each other. And that's why the sale happened. Right. And in some cases, people were just like, oh, yeah, you know, they'll say it. Oh, I just like Chance so much right out of the gate that I just started working with him. And then, they provided great service, and it was a win-win. And that's the other thing is, like, when I'm talking about integrity, it has to be a win-win for both parties involved, or else the sale should not happen. And people need to understand that not every person that you talk to is the right buyer. That's totally fine. Because guess what? There's a lot of other buyers out there that are going to be perfect for you, and you're going to feel good about that sale. You're going to know that you're going to have positive impact.
And I feel like if you don't have something in place as far as marketing, and you don't have traffic or leads being generated and showing up, it's very easy to take rejection as like a bad thing. When today, getting in the trenches, sales call after sales call, rejection is actually a good thing to me now. It's like, it wasn't meant to be. It maybe wasn't supposed to be. I probably just saved us a lot of time, energy, and even money by bringing on somebody that wasn't a good match.
Right. Because that's the thing is, like, oh, you might have got that sell that day, but then, 3 days down the line, 5 days, they want a refund, they do a chargeback, and then it creates all these other issues.
Buyer's remorse.
Oh my gosh.
So negative.
You create all of these other issues that are now a bigger problem. Because anybody that runs a business, chargebacks are like the worst thing that can ever happen to your business. Because you get enough chargebacks, you get shut down by a merchant, you're on the match list. You can't open up a merchant account. You can no longer collect payment for that business. That is a major, major issue.
That's a problem.
Yeah. It's a big problem.
Yep.
So by you getting the wrong people on board with your brand or your service, whatever you're selling, then that's just going to cause bigger problems down the line. So that's the thing is, like, not taking sales so personally, right? It's not about, did you win that conversation? It's like, did you make the right responsible decision as a salesperson to let them purchase your product or service or not?
Yeah.
If it wasn't a right fit, you're going to feel good knowing that, hey, I wish them the best and I hope that they find what they need. And when you operate from that place, like, you're not running your sales team or your sales business off of emotion. Because if you are, you're going to have those up and downs all day long. You're going to be exhausted every day. Your voice is going to be shot. You're going to be operating based on how much money you collected that day, and you're going to burn out. It is the equation for burning out. We have 24 people on our sales team. And, we've been doing this for a long time. These guys have collected millions and millions of dollars. And
how many is on your sales team?
We have 24 people.
Wow.
We have 12 for each program right now. And we've seen the numbers. We've seen the ebb and flow of how they're performing. And if they're having a good day or a bad day, directly reflects their sales. Doesn't matter, because people say, oh, I'm getting bad leads or whatever. Every business will experience amazing leads, not so good leads, and terrible leads. That's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
But we've proven it that based on if they're having a good day or a bad day, they bring in more sales. That's just the way it is. When you show up with more energy, you're feeling good, you're working out, you're implementing some of these very simple principles, you can sustain. You're no longer riding that emotional roller coaster that is extremely draining. Because that's the other thing. If you get burnt out, it can take months or even years to reverse burnout.
Yep.
I've been there.
Bro, I've been going through it the past probably year and a half, man. I was going too hardcore for 15 straight years, and then 8 years in my own brick and mortar, and it destroyed me mentally, physically, spiritually. And then all that impacted, like you're saying, there's a direct correlation to the financial side, right? It's like, oh, work harder, but the vibe I'm operating on isn't great now because I'm burnt out. So it wasn't attracting as much as when I started out, and the energy was high and I was loving doing what I was doing and I wasn't burnt out. So I want to get into modern millionaires. So what does that mean to be a modern millionaire, and what are you guys offering in regards to that program?
So after Abdul and I had both separately ran our successful agencies for a couple of years, we were coaching a lot of people. We were in a lot of different masterminds. We spoke at a lot of events, and we were seeing a common thread of where business owners or lead generators or salespeople or copywriters were all kind of having the same issues. And we had figured out our own strategy in paid advertisement that was helping us scale very, very quickly. A couple of years after that, we actually ended up building our own softwares that now do all of it for us, which we do offer to our students. But before we even launched the Modern Millionaires, we were already coaching people from all over the world and helping them out with their businesses. And we saw that we were adding so much value, but again, we were repeating the same answers over and over and over again. And so we came together. I was really good with sales and client acquisition through paid traffic and LinkedIn and cold emailing and networking and, how to successfully show up to a networking event and close deals and a lot of these different things that I was implementing. And then Abdul really had the traffic side figured out. Was like really, really good with specifically AdWords, which a lot of people run Facebook ads, but we had really saw how much potential was in Google ads and YouTube advertising. And that really became the backbone of our business. So we actually created softwares to help land clients, created softwares to deliver for clients. And we decided, you know what, we're going to launch a educational platform to help people that are, looking to start their own business and be kind of their first step into being an entrepreneur, or entrepreneurs that already have existing businesses that need help to grow. Right. So it was really addressing two major needs in the marketplace. And this was back before, now anytime you get onto Facebook, you see so many different coaches and platforms and everybody is a guru but they're popping up overnight. Right. There's been, I forgot his name, but he had this whole breakdown on YouTube about pointing out all the, fake gurus that are out there online of people that have made a few $1,000s on Amazon or whatever, and then create a program and try to sell it for 5-10 grand. And the issue there is that there's no guidance for actual real growth. Because like I said earlier, new levels, new devils. So if you haven't ran a 7-figure agency, you can't help somebody get to that place. Right. So we saw a big need in the marketplace. So we built the platform, started advertising and started to grow our brand. And like I said, bringing people that it was the first time diving into an entrepreneurial journey. And then also people that had been running businesses, but wanted to grow beyond that. So we created the platform, been open to the public for a little over about 2 years now. And it's just been continuing to grow like crazy. And we've continued to grow out, build out platforms and have just really grown this community. We've had multiple live events. Obviously the pandemic and everything shut that down. But we've always continued to grow our community and also be doing our live calls every single day. So it's really an interactive platform where, yes, you have all of the over the shoulder videos of Abdul and I showing you exactly how to set up your business, how to attract clients. We have, 6 or 7 different prospecting methods of how to land clients on autopilot. We have systems and softwares that we've built out to pretty much make this a plug and play business for people. Ad copies written, landing pages. We work with this company where it's just one click install, and we're building out all the templates and agency sites and landing pages and email campaigns and scripts and everything you need to run a successful business. Most of it is one click install. So we've made it very simple. Wow. Cody, back in the day, trying to build a website was just like, pulling teeth. It was so difficult, and you had to have coders and you had all this stuff going on. Well, now everything's drag and drop and very simple to do. And, we built all that up. We have our Facebook group where we have, our 5,000 members in there that are asking questions, every single day. And we've trained 5 coaches that are now called our 10K coaches, where they all have agencies that are doing 10K per month or more. And so they're teaching their specialty inside of the group every day. So, Mondays we have email marketing and copywriting, and one of our students will lead that through for an hour. You can hop on, ask questions. Tuesday is traffic. So it alternates between Google ads and Facebook ads. Wednesday is sales and accountability. So we do a lot of role playing with sales, like new age stuff, like stuff that we're doing today is what we keep updating the course with. This isn't content we created 2-3 years ago that we're just say, hey, good luck to you. This is something that's always evolving. And now we have a team of aside from our enrollment specialists, we have a team of 30 people on the back end that are running support, showing up for the calls, answering questions. I mean, you won't see a question sitting there for longer than an hour without getting a thorough response from one of our team members. And then Thursday is all about websites, landing pages. And then Friday is all about systems of how to automate your entire business. Because Cody, you and I both know if you create a business, but you don't have systems, like you're just creating another job for yourself. Yep. And then you experience what?
Burnout. The E-myth.
Yeah.
Get stuck working in the business rather than on the business.
Exactly. And then you can't see the higher level issues, right? If you're worn out by actually building all this stuff out yourself, then you can't guide your company, your business, your brand in the right direction because you're like, dude, I'm just taking care of support, or I'm just taking care of building ads. Like, I can't think about that event that I should be speaking at, that podcast I should be on, the next, what we're doing for Q2, Q3, Q4. You don't have the brain power. What are we talking about this whole call? Yep. Brain power. Yeah. So if it's spent on these $15, $20 an hour activities that you can outsource, you're wasting your freaking time. You won't get to that 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 14 figure business. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You can't. You don't have the brain power. And so that is what is so special about what we've created inside of MM is we do a 90-day boot camp where it's, let's get your agency up to 10K per month and then fire yourself as soon as possible. When I say that, be the owner of the business. Don't even be the CEO. Don't be the project manager. Don't be the media buyer. Don't be the copywriter. Be the person, because once you get into that place, you can be managing this business for an hour to 2 per day on your phone, wherever the heck you want to be in the world, and be running a business that has 10, 15, 20 clients. Or going out and building your own brand. I was really big in the client space, and now I've really shifted into partnerships where I'm earning equity from companies and then being their whole consultant marketing arm. I'm no longer taking on clients. I currently own 5 companies. Wow. And that's what I do. I spend my time now consulting and building out the marketing arms for multiple projects that I'm involved in that allow us to have, massive growth.
Wow.
So, and I'm able to do that and, still, work 20 hours a week and hang out with my fiance and soon to be my firstborn son and with the family and, be able to live in Laguna Beach and ski in Idaho and be able to do all the things that I love to do. Because again, going back to my, the year, 2010, where I was traveling around, that's still me, is having freedom and having the time to go do the things that I love with the people that I love, but still being able to impact the world in a positive way and grow businesses and run my, nonprofit organization in Uganda. And like, that's my why, right? Is to continue to impact people in a positive way. And learning these things in the beginning is what has allowed me to do that. And I feel so blessed to have been introduced to the right people. And again, open my eyes to the actual possibilities, become a listener to allow me to level up much faster than I ever would if I continued to be a talkative little know-it-all.
Yeah, man. Listen, learn, apply.
Yep.
So who is the Modern Millionaire program designed for? Like, who's showing up and becoming your guys' students, and what type of results are they getting?
Yeah, totally. So, I mean, in the beginning, we thought, just people that kind of understood marketing or SEO or paid traffic would be the people that ended up jumping on with Abdul and I. But now we have people from all walks of life. I mean, we have single stay-at-home moms that only knew how to work Facebook and could barely log into our community. And now we're making $8,000 a month, $10,000 a month. When we talk about numbers, it's like we did a poll and we had a 97% success rate. And we gauged that by not, okay, all the 5,000 members in here and some of you aren't doing anything. Out of the people that are actually following the business and staying up with the accountability, how many of you have made money from this process? We had a 98% success rate. So it's just like anything, right? If you show up and you work it, it will work for you. If you sit on the sidelines, it's never going to play out.
So yeah, can you dive a little deeper into like what separates those who obviously you mentioned they like don't really dive all in, but could you elaborate on what separates those who don't find success and those who are successful with you guys?
For sure. I mean, it's literally the people that are, so we have like a 90-day boot camp check mark where it's like, okay, day one, you're choosing your industry, you're uploading your booking page, your agency site, you're starting your LLC. Day two, you're starting to set up your email campaign. Day three, like it's very actionable, like check mark things of what you have to be doing, set up your LinkedIn page. The people that are following that process, showing up on our calls every day, taking action. We always say take imperfect action because people wait around to be perfect and then nothing happens. Right?
Yep.
So that being said, the people that are sticking with that 90-day challenge and showing up and being on these calls, they are being successful. Now, just like we're talking about, sharpening that axe every day. For the people that don't show up for a couple of weeks, they get on one call and then we don't see them for another month. Like we did a big call last week where we did a big giveaway. We gave away $50,000 worth of training, DFY products, done for you products, where our team will build out your website. So this big, huge giveaway to action takers. And we had people that had been in 2 weeks and landed a client and made $4,000. We had people that had been in 6 months, landed their first client for $2,000. We had people that had been in here for 2 years. Some of our first students that never took action until they physically had to due to COVID, and then now have a successful business. So we always say there's 2 days inside of our program. There's the day that you join and you pay your tuition and you get access. And then there's the day that you actually start your business. And if you make that day, if you make those days the same day, then you can have success in the first 30 to 60 days. But it's just like anything, just like when you were training people in your gym, like, hey, here's the protocol. You came in for your assessment. You know what we need to address. You show up for 4 months. This is what your body can look like. This is how you can feel. But if you come in here once a week, I cannot guarantee you anything. Right? If you're going to keep eating In-N-Out burgers and you're going to keep drinking cola and you're going to keep drinking a 6-pack every night, like I can't help you get to where you want to be with your health. The same thing here. Like if you're not showing up, it's not going to work. And honestly, those aren't the people we want in our community. Like we have a very in-depth application process where there's multiple calls that happen. There's multiple videos they have to watch to make sure that they are the right fit before we let them in, because we do a great job of protecting our community and keeping the integrity very high. We don't have a bunch of whiners and tire kickers in there. Like these are people that are actually passionate about life and are actually growing business and having positive impact. And that's what we work hard to create, because like I said in the beginning, when there's a transaction happening between a mentor and a mentee, or any sale that's happening, if it's not the right fit, then it's not going to work out for everybody. And like we're in this for the long haul. We're not one of these little coaching businesses that shows up for 6 months and makes some money and then goes upside down. Like we've been in it a couple of years now, and we see this in the long term. We already have our 20-year roadmap put together for what we're doing with our educational platform.
And you mentioned COVID. I think that's really important because it's such an amazing opportunity, especially at this time. So I could imagine that COVID has had a very positive effect on your business, but I also believe it's probably had a very positive effect on the students that have been signing up with you. So what has this whole COVID thing been like in regards to the agency world, marketing, and working with you guys?
I mean, like we're saying before we really hopped on, I mean, the world was already moving in the direction of where we are right now. It just COVID sped that up by like 3 to 5 years. So we already have this huge adoption of businesses going online advertising, pretty much eliminating any offline advertising. People aren't investing in yellow pages anymore. People aren't investing as much in billboards, or people don't even really hand out business cards anymore, right? That's all changed because what is everybody doing? They're on these things all day long, right? No matter what platform they're on: YouTube, Pinterest, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat. I mean, that is what is consuming everybody's attention. So why would you be advertising out here when this is so directed? You can get in front of exactly who you want to by advertising on these things, right? So we're already moving in that direction. COVID sped that up big time. They're projecting that there'll be $526 billion spent on online advertising this year alone.
Okay.
So think about on average, right, in marketing space, a lot of people will charge, 20% management fee on ad spend. Just do the numbers on that for, I don't even think my phone will calculate 500 billion. I don't think I have enough room for zeros.
Money.
That's a lot of opportunity. And if you're making, 20 to 30%, rev share, like a lot of our students set up rev share deals with companies, they're doing 100 grand a month. You're making 20 to 30 grand off that one client. So when we talk about opportunity, there were 8 million businesses that started this year alone, and a majority of them are e-commerce or online driven. There's 1.5 million Shopify stores, all e-commerce, and I'd say probably 95% of them have no idea how to drive more sales. The successful ones are influencers that already get good organic traffic that decide to start an e-commerce brand, and they're doing well because they've already put in the hard work to build out that traffic. But I mean, there's just so much opportunity. Even everything I know now with investing in the other businesses I've started, I would, if anybody was to say chance, and they do, people ask me on Instagram or reach out to me, what do I do to get ahead? What do I do to get up to 6 figures, 7 figures, live the good life that I want? I tell them, hands down, every time, get into paid traffic. You don't have to go start a business. You don't have to start a product. You don't have to create a new invention. You don't have to come up with some crazy supplement. You don't have to do anything. There's businesses out there that already have amazing products, but do not know how to find their buyers. You're getting in front of a revenue stream that already exists. Right now, millions and millions and millions of transactions happening right now while we're on this call. And for those of you listening in that aren't already a part of our paid traffic or or the Amazon deal, you're missing out on money that's already happening. So it's the simplest way to get in and start your business because it's a world that already exists. You're just helping buyers. You're just helping sellers find their buyers. That's all you're doing. And you're speeding up that time for them. And especially, there were so many businesses that were about to go out of business that our students helped save their business due to COVID, helped get them online, or took what they were already doing and grew it for them, saved their business. So
as far as like platforms and paid traffic, there's different channels out there. There's Facebook, you mentioned Google. You guys got into, it sounds like, Google and YouTube. So are you teaching your students Facebook advertising, Google, YouTube? What else is there? Instagram. I don't know. Is there even advertising? I've just started hanging out on LinkedIn, but that's usually related more to like cold email. So are you doing that? Are you teaching them all that? What's the difference between them? Which ones are better? Or does it come down to the niche? How does that work? Even for people who don't own agencies that are just wanting to maybe advertise their products and services.
Yeah, totally. I mean, so it's all very niche dependent for sure. Okay. When you're thinking about, the easiest way to explain it is when you're thinking about search intent, right? Someone going online and searching something, where do they go? They go to Google, right? Google owns YouTube. So a lot of people do research on YouTube as well. But like, let's just say they were just on YouTube searching and then they went over to Google. You're able to pull the search data from both of those platforms and be running your ads on both of those platforms. So those are your highest intent buyers because they're already doing the research. They're ready to buy. Right? With Facebook and Instagram, it's more kind of the shotgun approach where you're trying to raise awareness about your brand or your service. And you usually have to run a kind of a no-brainer promotion in order to get people to want to buy your product or service. And you'll see that now that you start kind of paying attention to it. When you're on Facebook and Instagram, you see the 10% off, 15% off, and you're like, I don't even know who this product is, but it's directed at a male, my age group, maybe has something to do with my interests. But it's not really something I'm in the market for. It's more of an impulse buy.
Shotgun, like you're saying.
Yeah. Okay. So when you're advertising for your business, keep those things in mind. I mean, 9 out of 10 times your Google and your YouTube traffic is going to convert and be better buyers. But that's all dependent. If you have a super unique offer that addresses a very large demographic, you can be very successful. My buddy owns Vessi Shoes out of Vancouver. I mean, they're doing millions and millions of dollars a month. One of the most successful shoe companies coming up. But they have a waterproof shoe that like compresses down and you can like put it, it's easy to pack. They're super comfortable and they're waterproof and they're all made out of recycled material. That applies to a lot of people. So Facebook and Instagram, their stuff is very visual. That's another thing to think about. Like they do a lot of great videos, a lot of great photos. It's very visual. So that platform works really, really well for them. And now they're starting to get into YouTube because video ads just like, crush it for a shoe company. Visual. So if you're in a visual niche, you start to lean more towards visual platforms. Pinterest is getting huge now. TikTok ads are getting big now. But it's all demographic, right? Snapchat, that's a younger demographic. So you have a gaming system or you have something that's applying to people that are, mid 20s and younger. Snapchat's a good platform to be advertising on. Older demographic, Facebook. Our demographic, Instagram. People that are more our age, that's kind of how it's divided out. So you really just got to understand who's your target market, and then that'll kind of guide you down, which platform you want to be using.
Okay. So I don't want to spend too much more time. I know you do got to jump into another call, but let's just dive into one more book at least, because that was actually one of my cliche questions, just because books are so important to me in my process. And I love reading, especially when they help me get better, which helps me obviously be more effective in my relationships in the world. So you mentioned two so far, which was Deep Work in Principles. Yeah. Could you give us one more book that you found to be super influential and really help you?
Dude, you're going to be a dad. No, I'm just kidding. That's only for dads. But my aunt just sent me that. And it's actually a really good book. If you guys are soon to be dads, dude, you're going to be a dad. Great book.
Right on.
Kind of two. One, I'm going to keep a secret because it's like the Bible for me.
You can send that one to me.
I'll send that one to you. But no, one that's more of like a bigger kind of, that I think would apply to more people would be Extreme Ownership by Jaco Willanek. Yeah. Great. I got this blur filter on, but the biggest takeaway from this book is everything is your fault.
Yeah.
Everything is your fault. So many of us want to blame who the president is, taxes, the boss sucks, yada, 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 right? We have a lot of these internal stories that we're telling ourselves to keep us from becoming successful because somebody else is holding us back. Something is holding us back. Something has blocked us, right? Remove that lie, remove that veil, and take complete ownership of your life, and you will see massive transformation. And the cool thing about that is like when you take ownership and people see you taking responsibility, it encourages them to take responsibility as well. I've tested this with my team where they're not performing, and I took the fault and said, guys, it's my fault for making sure that our ads weren't updated, for making sure that some things kind of went off. And like, because of that, like I'm taking ownership of that. And then a couple of guys were like, no, I could be working these leads harder. I know I had some other deals that I should have closed. And then it encourages people to also take extreme ownership as well. And when you have an entire organization that is operating with that principle, it becomes a powerhouse because no one's pointing fingers. No one's blaming each other. Everyone is taking responsibility and in turn, just taking action to address the issue or the problem much faster and much more efficient than if we're going to sit around and talk about whose fault it is. Who cares? Us talking about it isn't going to help us get anywhere. Okay, boom, let's take responsibility. Let's just keep moving.
Yeah, both are contagious. It's like, which one do you want to contract? You want to contract negativity, toxicity, and victimhood? Or do you want to contract some responsibility and some ownership? And you can 100%. Grow that in your culture. And it sounds like that's what's happening.
100%. And I tell my students all the time, take extreme ownership. Don't come complaining to me and Abdul because you didn't make your mortgage this month. That's on you. You have all the tools that you need. You have everything that you need in order to become successful. You have all the support. You have everybody here to help you, right? When you chose to go party for 3 days throughout the weekend or go on vacation, when you knew you had to make some stuff happen, I couldn't help you out there, And so that's really been ingrained in our culture. And now you'll see we don't have, I get in a lot of Facebook groups, a lot of masterminds. You get a lot of complainers, a lot of people blowing up the Facebook group. It's like, that doesn't happen here. People are asking productive questions in order to get issues addressed. And so that has created a very supportive community. Or when people post, there's no shit talking. There's no people, pulling each other down. It's all people like pushing each other in the right direction. So again, setting up principles in the beginning is so crucial. Any partnership I go into, whether it's personal or in a business sense, I always lay out the principles and make sure we're 1000% on the same page before I move forward. Because guys, there's so much opportunity out there. Don't work with people that give you a bad vibe. Don't work with people that you don't see eye to eye on. Don't work with people that you kind of feel like, there wasn't something quite right there. Because 10 out of 10 times, an issue will arise at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been burned bad for getting into business with people that I was like, there's something not quite right.
Yeah.
And then it's very expensive a year down the road, 2 years down the road.
Oh yeah.
When you could have avoided the situation altogether. Yep.
Yeah.
Totally.
So yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up as far as talking about like the Facebook group and everything, because that's something that kept occurring because I watched some of your testimonials and the videos, the interviews with some of your students, and it was a reoccurring theme. And I think that has to come from culture as well, but they kept saying how much help that they were receiving from your guys' group and your community. And they also mentioned that they had been in other courses and other groups in the past, but there was like no activity. They weren't really feeling supported. They weren't getting answers. But now working with you guys, they feel fully backed, fully supported, and they're able to do things that they weren't able to do. Now, one last question here. I want to go just future vision. This is the Vision Hunters podcast. Vision has become really important to me because I took that for granted as well early on in my career. And I don't believe the myth of build it and they will come. So having a vision and a roadmap is super, 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 super duper duper important to me now. What is the vision for the future look like for you? Let's say even for you and your company, like 1 year out, and then 5 years plus, like you mentioned, you're looking at 20 years out.
Yeah. So in the next year, we're working on getting we just launched our wholesale real estate course of teaching people how to get into real estate without investing their own capital and how to really build a portfolio and connect investors with distressed properties and sellers, which has already been a huge success. And continuing just to further develop our other educational platforms that we're rolling out. So we have a big e-commerce one we're working on right now. We're doing a copywriting one and also a sales training as well. That'll also integrate with influencers and how to help create big projects with influencers that are already getting organic traffic and how to take that to the next level. So that's kind of in the next year is getting those together. And then, looking 2, 3, 4, 5 years is getting these built out and having, we want to get each one of those to about 10,000 members. We want to have 100,000 members inside of our educational platforms as a whole. And, we want to be able to fill a stadium with our, we call them the MM fam with our tribe and, be able to have these big global events all over the world that, are not just about growing business and having the hustle, but also the personal development side, and have experts that come in that talk about relationships and health and biohacking and fitness and just everything. Because when you can level up, Abdul and I have studied a lot of this and we, bring it into the community, but to hear it from other people, to hear it from people that have further evolved in these different areas that we haven't yet, to be able to bring all of them in and create this massive community is really the big vision, and to be a global household brand where people are like, oh, where do I go and study? Oh, I'm going to go study with Chance and Abdul. Like I want to go learn how to do XYZ instead of going to college or instead of going to a trade school or instead of, whatever it may be. So that's really the vision. And then, just really working on building our brand. We actually just completed a documentary. So we just got over like the third cut from that. So we have about 2 more weeks of editing and then that's going to be releasing. And so we're going to be submitting that on different platforms and really pushing that, really talking about the transition that's happening right now in the digital revolution and the shift in education, and finances. So that's going to be really exciting. And then, really just to keep growing this thing. I mean, that's the vision. We're not going anywhere, and I'm just trying to impact as many people as we possibly can.
How can people find you on social? What is your website if anybody's thinking about, hey, I want to start an agency, I want to do this?
Yeah, so my Instagram handle is just Chance_Welton. So you guys can check me out there. And then also my partner, Abdul, he's Mr. Abdulio. That's a little harder one to spell.
Abdulio.
Abdulio. I'm friends with him, so you can check us. You can check us there. And then the website is themodernmillionaires.com. On there, there's a link to our officeless agency. So for those of you that are listening into the podcast, just kind of want to check out what we're doing. We have a 2-hour masterclass. That's the officeless agency, where we go over a lot of our concepts. I think it's like $4 or $5 to get into that. And then you can really see if this is a right fit for you or not. You can see some of the different softwares we're using. We have some one-click uploads for landing pages. Show you guys kind of how to find a niche and kind of dive into that. That's a great place to start for you guys. And then, if you feel like that's the right fit, there's a way to go through that and book a call with our team to go through the interview process. And then all of you stay tuned, because here soon we're going to have our documentary up and live for you guys to check out. It's about a 30-minute doc. Really, really excited about that. Worked with an amazing team out of LA to put that together. So yeah, that's really kind of where we're at. We're just going to keep pushing. I'm sure a podcast is somewhere going to come into play. I'm trying to push Abdul to do that, because I'm going to start building out our YouTube channel again. We're really working hard on that for a couple of years, and that kind of fell to the wayside, but want to start building that back up as well, and start sharing kind of more behind the scenes of my life and what I do on the day-to-day, and these different principles and milestones that I've hit, and the things that I'm struggling with currently today, and the things that I'm overcoming, and the people and the processes that are involved to help, push through that. And so that's going to be coming up, where we're going to start dedicating a lot more time to that. And it's going to be fun now, because my son's coming along. So kind of showing like, okay, newcomer dad, still growing businesses, still trying to travel the world, still trying to do all these crazy things. My fiance keeps saying, oh, you're going to have a son and, everything's going to slow way down. And I'm going to prove her wrong. We're still going to keep pushing and traveling, doing all this crazy stuff in our Sprinter van with our newborn son. So I'm really excited about that.
I love it, man. This has been super fun and insightful. I know this is going to help a lot of people get exposure to what they can do if they want to get involved with you, and what that looks like. So again, appreciate the time, man, that you shared with us, and thanks for sharing your story.
Thanks, Cody. It's really great to see you. Stoked that you're doing the podcast. I know we've been trying to make this happen for a little while, so thank you for being patient.
It's all good.
So I'm glad we got to do it. And now you're moving up to Idaho. So, I have a cabin in Idaho. You'll have to come over to the lake and hop on the boat with us, and we'll have some fun this summer.
That's it, folks. That's all I have for you. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, please leave a review, hit like, subscribe, and share the show with your friends and family. If you'd like to go on the Vision Hunters journey together, you can find me over on Instagram at the Vision Hunters Podcast, and also at Cody Allen Story, CODYALANSTOREY. Once again, welcome to the Vision Hunters Podcast. Have a beautiful day, a beautiful afternoon, or a beautiful evening. Adios.